up with the introductions, but while we're doing that, we have the opportunity to have you take yourself or put yourself on video, because we're going to be doing a first run to look at Halloween costumes this morning as we celebrate our 5th and final Board of Governor exam review session. Commend you for all of you that have been attending all 5, but then have a little fun today with our costumes. So please start to take yourself off video so we can see what you got. Ah!
Kirk, is that COVID?
Wow.
Still.
Narita, that's scary.
Wow.
All right, we got a few more people that need to show us their costume.
They're all being shy.
And take your notes. We'll have another review session as we get to the closure piece, and then we'll have you vote in the chat room for your 2 favorites.
Full man.
And is that, what is that? Is that blue with some eyes on the top? What is that?
It's an octopus.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cute.
Yeah, it's hard to see with the camera up close, but yeah, it's got its little tentacles.
Oh, that's super cute. And then we have Yoshi. We have Superwoman, a cat. Oh, this is exciting. And Ringo Starr.
We have the Invisible Man.
And the Invisible Man.
Yeah,
Where's that?
Oh, you got to find out where that is.
yeah, that's right. That's Andrew. I'm reading without glasses.
Sherry, do you want to give me permission to host?
I sure will, thank you. And then okay, you're part of our co-host team, you and your minion.
Thank you.
So we'll just take another, you're welcome to stay on video, whatever you're more comfortable with for our session. Because we're going to have another costume run through towards the end. So good morning again. And we will be going through our last 2 topics today, not the least, last but not least, because we'll help you prepare for these 2 sessions and kind of help you guide your study program, how you will take what we're presenting and really look at your knowledge areas and where you may need to focus on. So again, we're going to be doing healthcare technology and information management, which is 18 questions, 9% of the exam. And then our second part, our quality and performance management, which are 20 questions and 10% of the exam. So if we can go ahead to the next slide, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. I do want to, again, thank this tremendous crew that has put this together for you and has worked tirelessly for several months to get this here. Nora, thank you very, very much for all your hard work in pulling together a lot of the background work with slides and so forth. Thank you, Michael. You've served as the closest to taking the exam, which has been incredibly beneficial for us as we've planned this to make it meaningful. Rick, thank you for the voiceover videos and all of your expertise in helping us stay focused on our topics, and what a gift of giving folks the links for the Board of Governor exam reviews, voiceover PowerPoints. Shauna, thank you so much for getting us oriented to Zoom and providing a lot of important feedback, but support to make this happen. And Sachin, thank you, our most current member, volunteer of our Member Advancement Committee, for all the work you've done to help us take it to the next level. So again, thanks everyone today for that. So, and again, I want to reiterate, any of us are available for that structured interview or any support we can provide as you go on your Fellow of American College of Healthcare Execs journey. Next slide, please.
Wait. Can I take a moment to introduce Michael Brokloff for just a second?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's a Klingon, right, Mike? Looks like it. So Michael and I.
It's supposed to be the Joker, but it looks more like a clone.
So Michael and I are the founding members of the actual BOG exam prep sessions, and they were still in person. We did our first one back in 2013. And we've come so far, Mike. Now we're virtual. And I wanted you to see the great sessions we put together, to see how many participants. We never could have reached this many people back in the day. Rick is so gracious not to say I told you so, because he had been saying for years, this is the way to go. So I'm so proud to show you that we've graduated to what I call BOG 2.0. So again, Mike, thank you for all your years, all the blood, sweat, and tears we put in.
That's right.
And it's come to this. I mean, look at our baby.
There's 32 participants, and that's fantastic. I think on our largest session, we had what, 15, 20?
15 plus 6 faculty. So there were 21 of us.
Yeah.
In a room. And now look at us. So
Fabulous.
So thank you, Mike, for joining. If you can stay on for a little bit, I'd love for you to see how this goes and what's become of our little project. Okay,
well, thank you, Nora, and thank you, Michael. We'll go to our next slide. We're going to do a little updates right now. We want to remind folks that the SurveyMonkey for the entire series will come out with the links from today. And please fill it out. Your feedback is essential for us. We want to ask and get your feedback on questions on how the timing went for each of the presentations, if the 5 Saturdays worked, if there were any suggestions you'd have for content. So we really do appreciate it when you do your SurveyMonkey. I'm going to let Sachin talk a little bit about the Board of Governor exam prep webpage.
Sure. Can you hear me all right?
We sure can.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining this morning. And one of the things we are doing to continue to support all of our members who are preparing for their Board of Governors exam is to bring more of this information available for you on our website, on the Cal website. So far, we've had minimal information, but I think with the current new normal of doing everything virtual, we also want to make sure that we have more channels available for you with information to help you. So over the last 5 weeks, we have been collecting a lot of the frequently asked questions, as well as some of the questions we have seen in the past. And we're creating a new page on our website, and we're calling it FAQ, frequently asked questions. And what we're going to do is we are getting information, for example, some of the resources we have available from ACHE, as well as some of the other resources we have internally being shared in the last few weeks. We're going to collect them, and we're going to start putting them on our website in a dedicated page for frequently asked questions. We will also have a form there that will allow you to ask any questions that we haven't covered as you start preparing towards your exam. You can also request for structured interviews scheduling. We will all get that email, and one of us will reach out to you to set up some time with you. And feel free to also ask any questions about additional resources you need, and we will try to best provide you the information that we can. And this link and this new page will be available on our Board of Governors page on the website itself. We are looking at other ways to optimize and provide a more user-friendly experience on the website. So give us a few days to put it all together, and then we'll announce it to the team here, to all the members who've joined here, so that you can come back to us, check out the website and give us your feedback, and hopefully that'll be helpful for you as you move forward for your preparation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, I will take this opportunity, as you see on our slide presentation, we do have a very special guest, and we are going to be presenting to you Lillian Chan, and I've gotten the opportunity to work with Lillian. She is a fellow in the American College of Healthcare Execs. She is a Cal board member and has been a co-chair of the California Association of Healthcare Leaders Bay Area Local Chapter Program Council, Local Program Council, LPC. Lillian has won the 2017 Cal Volunteer of the Year since working on the Local Program Council since 2008. And I had she has organized countless programs, face-to-face, learning from leaders, as well as amazing networking events in the whole Bay Area. So you've likely met Lillian or have been the beneficiary of some of her work in that. She's also been a previous faculty member in our Board of Governor exam prep workshops. Lillian is currently working as the Transition Director for Marin Health Medical Center, and we are very proud to have her. So Lillian,
yes.
welcome.
Hi, how are you all? Hello, everyone. Nice to see some familiar faces, people that I've gotten to know through my association with Cal. And yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to just tell you a little bit about my journey to fellowship and why why I pursue this, and why I want to encourage all of you to continue on with this particular workshop and then sit for the exam and then proceed into the distinction of receiving the fellow of the American College of Healthcare Executives. So let me just tell you a little bit about my journey. So when I went to graduate school in health administration, actually it was a mandatory thing to become a student member. So I have been a student member, a regular member for many years until I could sit for the exam, and then became a fellow. So why would I, for my entire health administration career, do this? And it's because of the principles that this particular association, the American College of Healthcare Executives, the principles that bind us all together. And that is that we are always seeking to excel in our profession. We want to continuously learn from each other and from the latest things that are happening in the industry. And then we want to give back. I think those three elements are really key to why we are involved, why we continue to be involved. So I started as a student member. And then when I got my first professional job right out of graduate school, I became a member. And at the time, the requirements, you have to learn your way around healthcare management, gain the expertise in all the various aspects of health administration that are part of the fellowship exam. When I took the exam, there were 6 different modules that we had to understand and be able to be conversant in. And this tells you how far back I took this exam. At that time, you also had to do an oral exam. So not only the written exam, but also sit before other fellows and do an hour-and-a-half oral. Well, they've dispensed with the oral exam, so it's only the written exam now. But it probably is quite comprehensive as it was back in the day. So what is the benefits of being a fellow versus just a regular member? I think it just is a mark of distinction that you are committed to your career in healthcare administration, that you want to continuously learn, but also you get access to meeting people in different forums that even as a member, in networking, but also as a fellow, there are fellow forums that, again, you widen your network of individuals that you know, learn more different parts of the very complex healthcare industry, and just the value of knowing that you are making a contribution in mentoring other up and coming individuals in your organization or in through the American College of Healthcare Executives, various activities. These are all things I think that are not only beneficial for yourself, but also elevates this the profession to excel and become the excellent kind of leader that everyone aspires to be. So that's just a little bit about my history and why I have a longtime member of the college and also now involved with a local chapter. So yeah, this prep exam is also, the last thing I wanted to say is it is so important now compared to probably in prior era, because it is much more comprehensive, and so this is supposed to help you prepare for that exam. So do you have any questions or any comments? I do want to give one little anecdote. So once you become a fellow, you get to sponsor other people in their fellowship. So if you are interested and don't know a fellow for your reference, get to know some of the people that have the FACHE behind their names, and they could become your personal references. I have sponsored several people, and they have gone on to even becoming president of the Cal board. So it's a real fun thing to see the people that you've encouraged to move forward in their professional career with this distinction, and then give back in a various volunteer leadership opportunities. So thank you very much, Sherry, for inviting me to just tell a little bit about why it's so important to become a fellow.
Thank you, Lillian. We really, really appreciate it. Appreciate you can stay on if you'd like, but we do appreciate you and your words of wisdom and your support for our participants. Thank you. All right. Well, I do want to introduce one more individual. He's new to our California Association of Healthcare Leaders, our California chapter, and his name is Ryan. And Ryan, if you're on and just want to say hi and welcome.
Yeah, good morning. This is Sutherland. It's a pleasure to be part of the team, and I love the costumes this morning. Very festive.
Thank you, Ryan. Ryan, I believe you're from the Hawaii chapter. Is that correct?
Yes, I came over from the Hawaii Pacific chapter. I haven't been involved over there in a little bit. I'm actually here working at Kaiser Permanente as part of the Military Officer Transition Program. It's a 2-year, very similar to a fellowship type program. Working, and I have an opportunity to be working in Roseville.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you. All right. Well, if we'll go ahead and get started with information technology. So if I could go to our next slide, and we'll go ahead and cover our knowledge points. We'll keep our same format with our study questions. We'll do both topics, information technology and then quality and performance, and then go to our Quizlet. So let's start with our next slide for information healthcare technology. So a lot of this particular chapter or this particular knowledge area does relate to the roles and functions of information technology in not only business operations, hospital operations, quality, finance, and so forth. So and the chapter that it is under, if you're referencing the White Griffith, is called Knowledge Management. This is the 7th edition, but it's very comprehensive. Knowledge of technology trends and clinical applications. And of course, that changes dramatically. So I think as just a caveat for the exam, it's sort of in general terms again. Policies and regulations, and this is a part where I think it would be important for you to do some, maybe a grid or a table with dates, sometimes there will be dates that you'll need to reference, and some of the acts that or the regulations that have are an important part of this chapter. And so the other area that you'll need to know is health informatics for operational decisions. And, you know, we've heard the term data warehouses, big data, and these are really where we're evaluating clinical outcomes based on all the data that's been collected. And it really has helped clinicians make healthcare decisions based on best practices. And that's a very important topic, a very important section, and an important area to be focused on as we look at patients and how they interface with this particular area in healthcare. We'll go to the next slide. And this, again, will capture potential impacts and consequences of healthcare decisions, the end user and processes in finance, operations, healthcare, and quality. And there will be likely a question similar to what are the type of information systems or categories. So it is important to know the buckets, clinical. They group in some of the questions you'll see administrative and finance together as one bucket, and decision-making or support for management. And there really is an emphasis in this particular area on the strategic management and how strategy for the organization needs to be front and center with their information technology or knowledge management teams and their the roles of those individuals. It will ask about the role of the CIO, Chief Information Officer, and it will ask you to say all of these or are roles, or all of these are all of these but one, or how in negative for the role of the Chief Information Officer. Knowledge of information systems continuity, how to keep your systems backed up. The video that Stanislaus did for us, the voiceover, has a very good section on cloud-based strategies. It was very comprehensive, and how organizations make their decisions to outsource and what the advantages are. And that's important as well. They will ask about outsourcing when it's appropriate. And there's going to be information that will be asked about influencing the selection, acquisition, and maintenance of IT systems. It's important that you understand the governance structure for IT information systems, so that you're able to kind of look through in terms of either a timeline or some of the ways that you would go about this in terms of a timeline. The security issues, again, will come into play here, and how well an organization has managed their HIPAA, Health Information Portability and Accountability Act, and it will reference that. And then knowledge of healthcare analytics. And again, that will talk about issues with the knowledge that's gained from either finance or administrative or clinical areas, and how that's integrated in. There'll be questions, and our slide presentation has recovery and backup and terminal locks in terms of some of the issues around keeping a system safe, biometric ID, and things that have kind of emerged more recently. I want to ask Sachin or any of the others that work intimately in IT if there's any other topics, or Michael, especially since you just took the exam, that you think you'd want to have individuals put down on their learning plan for this particular area.
Yeah, probably take time to learn about interoperability as well. So I think that's the new thing that's coming, or the trends that's coming with IT right now, the interoperability. So should be able to know what are the processes to be interoperable within different health systems. So
Great.
I agree. Among the things that you would really look forward to, or in addition to interoperability, or also the kind of application of data analytics in different ways, both at the point of care as well as at the payer level, understanding how payers, for example, are looking through the claim data and trying to figure out who are the most riskiest patients and who would be contributing to the most cost, as well as the most complex cases. And using these analytics, the tools and technologies that are becoming available will give them a better sense of identifying or risk stratifying those patients so that they can advise the providers to kind of give better care for them. And on the provider side, application of that, for example, predictive analytics is a great example where the systems can flag patients ahead of time in terms of potential. For example, in the current pandemic that you can see right now, there are certain symptoms that or diseases that people have are prone to be impacted by COVID. And although we're still learning a lot about the disease, there's already enough cases using which it can predict possibilities of these patients contracting the disease. So these tools can alert providers to reach out early enough, provide medications or other mechanisms where they can protect themselves. So in my mind, these are some of the very critical ones that actually are going to help us control kind of the runaway costs that we have in, but also improve the quality of care.
Thank you. And I think it's emphasized about really considering the end user in this model for EMR or EHR and the clinical data piece that we gather. So thank you. So we'll start with our next slide, and Michael's going to start us out on some questions.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fifth and last webinar series. So your question number 1 is, why is it important for this IT strategy to align with the organization's goals and objectives? A, to increase Medicare payments. B, to improve access to data for management, providers, and consumers. C, to allow the CEO to control IT spending. D, to give the CIO a seat on the executive committee. I can see some answers there. Okay, looks like pretty much consistent. And the next slide for the answer is B. Yeah, so it is really important for the decision makers to have an access to data and it should be aligned to the IT strategy so that they can affect changes not only in the Medicare payments reimbursement, also to improve quality and outcomes of the organization. And the CEO has already the ultimate responsibility or power of spending anyway. So that's not the best answer. So the answer is B to that. Next slide, please.
This is mine. So I'm going to do my open thinking process. I haven't looked at these before, so I have no idea what they are. No, seriously, I didn't look at them. What competencies do not matter? So there I want to make sure I'm seeing do not, because that's easy to skip over. Do not matter in selecting CIO. Prior management experience sounds important, so that's a false. Knowledge of the healthcare organization of healthcare, not the healthcare organization, just healthcare organization generally, probably important. Okay. Personal relationship with board member, I don't think so. Finance budgeting skill, that fits in with A. So if I'm looking for all the negative ones, I'm going to go with C.
Number 3 question. So one of the major elements of a strategic IT plan is A, request for proposals or RFP from vendors, a list of detailed specifications for computer programs. C, priorities for individual computer applications to be aligned with the strategic objectives of the organization. D, specification for computer hardware installation and maintenance. So the answer on this, I see the answer here, which is most of the participants are selecting C. Let's check if it's correct. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the A, request for proposals from vendor, is you do that after you have the IT plan already. So, and a list of detailed specifications for computer programs is also, it's one of the part of the RFP. What are the details or specs that you need from a computer program? And the D is specification for computer hardware installation and maintenance. It's also the same. So the A, B, and D are part of your preparation for RFP, wherein the correct answer is C because it's the broadest, it's the main, it aligns everything with your strategic plan. So, and that next slide.
Okay, the element most critical, and I appreciate the fact that it's underlined in bold, so I know it's the most critical. That's going to give me a hint that the others may be valuable, but not the most critical to successful design and implementation of executive decision support. So that's one of the types of IT systems. So I have to look for executive decision support. Okay, availability of software for updating the database. No, that's pretty much everything. Maintaining data confidentiality, that's, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's important, but not that, it's not the most critical. Involvement of top management. So I'm going to go back, successful design and implementation. That was certainly a maybe. Availability of computer equipment. No, we can always buy that. So thinking the most important, the first three are all important, but I think the most important is going to be C for implementation and design and implementation. So I'm going to go with C. I'm feeling relieved.
Hey.
I really wasn't sure on that one. Okay.
Number 5 question. The goal of HIPAA is, in terms of security and privacy, was to A, improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the healthcare system via electronic data interchange. B, expand the privacy and security requirements of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. C, provide financial incentives for implementing secure electronic health records. And D, establish a privacy standards for federal government organizations only. So let's look at this, selection. So the answer here is, next slide, please. A. So the answer is A. So because the question says, in terms of security and privacy, HIPAA, so it's improve efficiency and effectiveness of healthcare system via electronic data exchange. Selection B and C is, they are talking about the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, which is expanding the privacy with the purpose for financial incentives. So the C is just a continuation of the B of the ARRA, and the selection D, establish privacy standards for federal government organizations only. This is the Privacy Act of 1974. It defines the Privacy Act of 1974 for letter D. That's why the best answer is A. Next slide, please.
So proprietary medical information is protected within an organization on what type of server? Okay, so I'm going to immediately start panicking because I have to start thinking of the hardware and the systems and stuff that I don't know. So internet, no, I don't think we want to put proprietary information on internet. Intranet, okay, so maybe, is that giving access to people within the hospital? Maybe. Extranet, I have no idea what that is, so I'm going to ignore it. SecureNet, now that sounds like a good one because we're trying to protect information, but I've never heard of SecureNet. I like the name, but I'm going to go with B. And I was right. Back to Michael.
Next slide, please. Knowledge management is defined as A, the practice of explicitly and deliberately building, renewing, and applying relevant intellectual assets to maximize organizational effectiveness. B, the transfer of structured information between two computer systems. C, a movement to explicitly use the current best available scientific evidence for managerial decision-making. And D, the planning, organizing, directing, and controlling of resources to accomplish goals and objectives related to a distinct initiative. This is mouthful, and it's so busy. The question is so busy. You have to really think. You have to really take time to to read all the selection to get the correct answer. So, and the next slide for the answer is A. So the letter B, the transfer of structured information between two computer systems, is an electronic data interchange. And letter C defines the evidence-based management. You're defining the best available scientific evidence. So that's evidence-based management. And the letter D is defining the project management. These are the steps when when you are a project manager. These are the different steps. So the best answer is A, because it defines the purpose of the knowledge management, which is for intellectual assets. Next slide, please.
Okay, which of the following is a reason that system support of outcomes data collection and analysis? God, that's a long phrase. System support of outcomes data collection analysis. So a lot of words, but I think we're looking at outcomes data. So I'm going to look for that. So which is the reason that these can be very complex? Okay. Required data typically resides in multiple information systems and in manual, that's for sure. Functional departments are not integrated with financial, no, that's not related to outcomes. Inconsistent medical terminology across clinical systems, not if you have a good system. Variations between a bunch of things, I don't know what they are, I'm going to eliminate that one. So the one that's looking best to me is A.
And Rick, we were going to ask folks for the last question here.
Yeah.
Type in a few reasons why they might have selected A, so you're getting into the mindset that Rick shared with us on why you would select that. Just type in that for this particular question, and we'll do the same for the last question in the next topic.
The biggest strategy thing here is either you know that's the right answer, or you can just eliminate the other three, and therefore it's the one that's left. Both work.
Appreciate we're seeing that folks are kind of pulling from their own personal experience. They're using words that are multiple and manual. Helped with this. Outcome data can reside in many different organizations, all of whom may use different systems. Really appreciate your thought processes here. That's important. Thank you.
And I would, if you're studying practice questions, don't just put the right answer, but ask yourself, why is it that you know it? You know, is it something you can look up, or is it something you have to reason out? But be kind of self-aware as you're answering them, the practice questions.
Thank you very much.
Next slide, please. Oh, see, we have more.
I know we have more. One of the major elements of an information system strategic plan includes the A, request for proposals from vendors. I don't think so. B, specifications for computer program documentation. That's part already of, when you're already buying a system. Also with C, specifications for computer hardware maintenance. And D, software development plan. And the next slide is D. Why is that so? Any, I think, Shashan, do you know?
Well, the first three aren't really strategic, they're implementation.
Right.
So I can just eliminate those using the true false thing. I got 3 falses in a row.
Yeah, and the D is more strategic because you're looking forward what's going to happen in the future. If you know there are some changes, so what is the plan for the company to develop software? So, yep, that's the correct answer. D. Next question.
Okay, and I think this is the last one now.
It is.
I think there's one more.
Selection of an information system. Okay, so I'm looking at something regarding acquiring the system, and it should begin with some early phrase. I'm trying to get the cat out of the way of the monitor. Meeting with several information vendors to determine scope. No, I don't want to start by talking to the people who want to sell me stuff. Hiring an information consultant to determine the needs. So often, yes, maybe. Development of an information plan. No, I should have had the plan before I start looking at procuring the hardware. Evaluation of available hardware and software. Oh, do I have the expertise to do that? Is that really what I need to do to start? You know, because maybe I need something that's not available. So I think I need some expertise. I'm going to go with B as the consultant. Oh man, really? Doesn't always work. See, not my area. So as long as I get 80%, I'm going to be happy.
In that kind of gave a sequence.
Yeah.
So
That, you know, that if you don't have the plan, you start with the plan. I was kind of assuming you had a plan and then you're starting to buy something. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, we have two more questions on this.
Really? Oh, good. I have a chance to redeem myself.
Yeah.
So 11, comprehensive information security policy should include all of the following elements except. So the word here, just remember the word here is except. So we're looking for comprehensive information security policy. So A, management policies, B, data backup and recovery, C, physical security, D, technical controls. What is the exact answer here? And the next answer is D. So the management policy is part of the security policy, security plan. You have to put all your security policies in there. And the data backup and recovery, it should be also part of it, and the physical security. But for me, the technical controls is except, but currently, you know, what I'm thinking, and with the current situation right now, I don't know, probably this is just only my thinking. Probably we should include technical controls because right now we have cybersecurity and everything, and we need technical controls in our security plan. So, but the author of this question, the answer is D. So that's what he is saying. But I don't really, and I agree with those. I agree with those comments. The technical control should be part with the current situation. So we can clarify probably more on this. Right? If you agree with me, this 11.
Yeah, I believe the more correct title for item A should have been the IT management policies, because that would be the broadest.
Yeah.
So, and the technical controls are very, very important, but they're part of the data backup recovery and part of the physical security. So again, we have to look at the broad, what would encompass the most. But I would have entitled A slightly differently. Because then are you talking about HR management policies or,
Yeah.
That's how I.
Right. I agree. Yeah. They could be more specific on that. Okay. Next slide, please.
This time we're really sure it's the last one, I think. So in the IT system development life cycle. Right? Development life cycle, which is the most important step. So they could all be important, but I'm looking for the most. Okay, so system analysis, yep, seems very important. Design, no, design's gonna be based on your analysis. Acquisition's gonna be based on your design. System's gonna be, implementation's gonna be based on your acquisition. So yeah, I'm gonna go with A. The people who put D, I'm interested, why D? What was your thinking on that one?
I'll just one comment from me why the systems analysis is the most important piece. This is where you actually do the planning. The planning is the step where you are defining or deciding exactly what it is that you want to do and actually what problems it is trying to solve. I think that's why it's critical from a systems analysis point of view. But to answer, I think the other comment about the design implementation actually are going to follow what you decide in the analysis phase. System acquisition obviously is buying the software and the hardware. Obviously, those also follow that.
And some of the comments are interesting. I think they're worth reading in the chat. So make sure you take a look at those.
The reason I picked, so I picked D, the system implementation. And the reason was, my thought process was that, just from personal experience, a lot of times we analyze different projects and we make decisions about how we're going to do this great grand plan. But at the end of the day, one of the things that I'm trying to always get done is, we can talk about all this stuff, but it doesn't matter until we actually implement it. And that's kind of how I saw it, or how I viewed the question was, whatever is designed or analyzed doesn't really matter until we implement.
That's a good point too. And we have known enough projects which have been failures because of the poor implementation. So it's a good point to also think about.
I mean, failures can come from any of them. If you design it wrong, if you buy the wrong product, all those are failures as well. But will you know it if you haven't done the planning correctly? Will you know where you failed?
And one of the comment here from the chat box says, every step is important, but most important is A. If analysis is flawed, nothing will go right, including implementation.
Great point.
Thank you for that, Khalid.
All right, we'll go to our next slide. Thank you for all those that participated. Great engagement with health information. So now we have quality and performance management. And as we talk about the topics in this area, it will be important if you haven't been in mostly either an acute care hospital setting or involved even in an ambulatory setting where you have some exposure to a quality committee. This is a particular area where you really want to set up your study plan. And I would suggest mentor if you're able to with your quality director in your organization and just kind of have them share some of the high points of the quality plan. So we'll go to the first slide and talk about the knowledge areas. So benchmarking principles and sources of best practice information come from both internal or external sources. Some of those would be areas like Leapfrog and or some that have been designated by the National Quality Forum, NQF. And I want to ask folks if they would, because I want to see who had a chance to look at Stan's excellent voiceover presentation here. What was his inspiration for the first slide in his presentation on quality and performance areas? So go ahead and write that in the chat room, those that watched that video. I'm seeing some folks that watched the video. Okay. Jennifer, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, right. It was Star Wars. He did a marvelous job with that. And Rick, please thank him again for that. So as he looked at areas in his presentation and principle and methods of medical staff peer review. We talked a little bit about that in the governance section, but this is really where you're going to get the medical staff's role in peer review, and peer review being other physicians, other ancillary staff members that are credentialed within the hospital's credentialing process through the medical staff. And peer review is stressed that physicians do the disciplinary action, so peers to peers, and the board of directors, though, has the ultimate authority. So normally, if there is an issue that's come up with a provider's performance, they will peer review and bring it to the board for final approval if there is concerns enough to look at the credentialing process for a practitioner. This, again, these are broad topics: risk management principles and programs. And so it kind of delves into all different things: employee injuries and patient complaints and security under the quality realm. Knowledge of managerial performance and process improvement tools and techniques. And it will ask you to think about these different areas. I always try and just think lean is reduce waste when I think of lean processes. And then Six Sigma reduces variation. And there could even be a question about how many defects per million. That's kind of a question I saw, 3.4. It won't get into micro topics on Six Sigma, but just think of it in terms of reduced variation and lean, reduce waste. Some of the other things that you'll need to look at is understanding Plan, Do, Study, Act. Sometimes it's called something different for process improvement. There's areas called FADE, Focus, RCA. It's a lot of things. You'll just want to write down the topics and just put a brief answer next to it. Root cause analysis for RCA, a failure mode effects analysis. And this is a good opportunity for you to mentor with any of your colleagues in quality, just to ask them a few things about, like, what was your failure mode effect analysis done on last year, so you're comfortable with it. And utilization review and case management systems, also part of quality, as we look at areas around length of stay, and we look at areas around how well we've managed the patient in terms of protocols and so forth. So our next slide. And process improvement tools. We've touched on evidence-based medicine, evidence-based practices, as we looked at some of the outcomes from our information systems and how we've created those. Population health and pay for performance are both areas that is important and good for you to understand. Clinical pathways help us try and reduce standardization or increase standardization, reduce variability, increase standardization, reduce variability, and specific tools that are used to measure patient satisfaction, and also provider satisfaction, physician satisfaction, employee engagement, employee satisfaction, knowledge of tools, how we use to reduce errors, and recognition as quality also as a very, very important strategic initiative. We've looked at IHI's triple aim, and quality is clearly identified in the triple aim. We've looked at the Institute of Medicine in the report in 1999 to Err is Human, and that might be a good starting point. And also, it might be important for you to look at different dates in this area too, about why we moved into quality. Medicare coming out in 1965, and some of the important things or dates associated with that, and why that brought us to value-based performance reimbursement measures and so forth. So I think it's important to look at the Donabedian model, and there likely will be a question on structure measures, process measures, or outcome measures. Those are Donabedian's model for measuring quality. And a fourth one, which is balancing measures, can also be included in that, but really understand structure measures, process measures, and outcome measures. Look at charts, various charts as you go through this particular area, and why you would use a Pareto chart or a control chart. Pareto charts for frequency defects, and control charts to look at a process change. And there's a variety of different charts that you'll want to decide in terms of measurements for quality. So I will pass it on to Michael to start our questions in this area. And we have 8, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Question number 1 is, which characteristic of a high-risk process would tend to increase the risk of a process failure? A, simplicity, B, consistency, C, variability, D, automation. So the question here is tend to increase the risk. So it's looking for a item that will increase the risk of a process failure. So A is simplicity. I don't think it will increase the risk of failure. Consistency, if you have a consistent process, I think the risk of failure is less there. And variability is probably the correct answer here. And the automation, so I think if you have automated process, risk of process failure is also decreased. And let's look at the next slide for the answer. C, variability. Next slide, please.
Okay, so a healthcare institution would use nationally accepted clinical benchmarks to determine what services the institution should offer to meet the needs of the area. Sounds like strategic planning to me on that one. The key word here, the key phrases that I keyed in on were clinical benchmarks. So that helped guide what I was looking for. Obtain a comprehensive view of the state of the institution's business. Strategic planning, maybe. Evaluate the outcomes of a clinical process. It has, the 2 key concepts that we're talking about, and then oversee the clinical structure of the institution. So yeah, answer is C, because if you're looking at benchmarks, you're going to look and see what outcomes other institutions have and how's yours measure up to it. So it looks like everybody got that one. I like it. As I'm preparing for this, it's like I had to go back through all my quality stuff. So this helps even me remind myself of quality. Okay, next slide.
Number 3 question. In designing a risk management program for your organization, what approach would have the most impact on reducing risk? So the goal here is reducing risk. Selection A is developing a reporting system for medical errors and injuries to staff and visitors. B, require assessments of high-risk areas or processes within each service or department and unit. C, use task force to address key Joint Commission standards and that apply to risk management. And D, educate staff on potential risks and patient safety practices. So I'm looking here, answers are, it's mixed actually. They're mostly, it's D. D, B, B, oh, it's okay. The next, for me, the answer here is B. Let's check if it's B. Yes, it's B. So, so the selections A, C, and D would it creates less. It's a less has a lesser impact on risk management program. However, B requires an is the most. It's the best answer because it has higher impact to reducing risk. Especially if you're the tool that you're going to be using for this is what we call the FMEA, the failure mode effects analysis. So, and it is also you're foreseeing some risk in any areas, like any clinical areas in your ER, in your ICU, in your any high risk areas that the organization identifies. So the FMEA has the most impact since it would identify critical processes or activities which need improvement to prevent future adverse events. And the tool that you're going to be using is FMEA. Next slide, please.
So I feel bad. I don't have the specific processes that Michael does in addressing these. So lesson to all of us, get to know the level of detail that Michael is specifying. Okay, so in conducting a risk assessment, what would be the first action to take? Key here first. Identify the steps in the process of concern. Yeah, we're looking at steps. Identify the steps on exactly what it is that we're looking at. Identify what could fail in the process. Okay, that probably comes after you've identified the steps. Identify causes of failure in the process. Okay, well, that comes after you've identified what could fail. Then identify priorities for action. I believe that's comes once you've looked at everything else, in my opinion. So the answer is, next slide. There it is. Yeah, identifying the steps. It's got to start at the beginning. And I'm sure there's diagrams and charts and processes that Michael can come up with. But again, if you don't know them, and if you're just looking at this is how I got to the answer. Okay, next slide.
Oh, that's a lot of words to read. So
Yeah.
number 5, your
Yeah, this is
medical
the
staff.
slow
Sorry.
down, take a deep breath, read through. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. So your medical staff on the general medicine unit has been complaining about the delays in the administration of medications. You study the processing times on other units and indeed find that the general medical unit times are considerably longer. What would you do? Or for what would be the first step? A, implement best practices from other units. B, have the manager from the highest performing unit assist the general medical units in its improvement efforts. C, establish benchmark for processing time across the organization. And D, organize process improvement team in the general medical unit. So let's see what's the answer here. What are the... Yeah, I can see. Yes, yes, yes. So the correct answer here is letter D, because the process is more collaborative. So the key is you're organizing process improvement team in your medical unit instead of telling them right away what to do or implementing best practices right away. So you have to collaborate with the key stakeholders to address the issue. The correct answer is D. Next question, please.
Okay. What tool is the most appropriate in identifying priorities for action? Again, key words here, most and identifying priorities and action. Okay, the whole question is important. Okay, so the key here is to know what each of these does. So I can start looking at some answers. Okay, so again, I like Rick's true false. So is it a flow chart? Well, knowing that flow chart is actually looking at a process, a workflow, you have to identify what it is, what needs to be your priority. So yes, you do that, but after you identify the priorities. Cause effect diagram. Okay, that's like what you call the fishbone, where you start looking at steps in the process. Again, that comes after you've identified the priorities. Pareto chart, well, if you're familiar with this being the diagram that'll show you what's causing the biggest problems and then goes down from there. That sounds like it would be the most appropriate. And then a run chart is, then you're measuring a process in real time. So I believe the answer is C. Looks like others do too. And there it is. Okay, yeah, and Ed Chan is answering based on the items that most affect your system, correct. And I would never have been able to figure this one out had this one I couldn't just come to this blind. I had to know what each of these were. So I Googled them last night. So very important. Okay, next slide.
What approach best ensures loyalty, return visits by patients to your organization? A, patient satisfaction surveys. B, patient engagement. A, an effective complaint resolution process. D, customer service training. So let's see what are the answers here. So the patient satisfaction surveys is after the fact. So after the visit, the visit has already done, or their care, we already gave them the care. So patient engagement is both. You can engage the patient while they are in the hospital or while they are in the clinic by checking what their needs, following your HCAP protocol. And and the C is effective complaint resolution process. Yeah, probably that will help, but not the best answer. And D, customer service training as well. It will help, but not the best answer. So the correct answer is on the next slide, please. B. So because patient engagement, you are proactively correct, Sarah, thank you. You are proactively working with the patient right there and there. Then when they go home, they have a good experience and they will come back. Next slide, please.
Okay, so what actions should you take to ensure that all critical activities associated with care of a patient, you can tell where I'm going with the emphasis, are being carried out in the right sequence in your organization? Okay, institute clinical practice guidelines, develop clinical pathways, institute a disease management program, or develop evidence-based management program. Okay, Rick's process. Institute clinical practice guidelines. Yes, but that's something that you do later in a process. Develop clinical pathways. Okay, development is what you're doing at the beginning of a process, once you've identified what the process is, of course. Institute a disease management program. Again, that comes after you've understood what the process is and what needs to be accomplished. And develop an evidence-based management team, but doesn't address which management team you're talking about. So I would go with B, developing the clinical pathways. Answer is, yeah, there it is. Again, to ensure that all the critical activities that are being carried out in the right sequence, that's what a clinical pathway does, and then everything else flows from that.
So thank you very much. And I think as you saw, a lot of these knowledge areas will have sequenced answers, what comes in what order. So as you're doing your study plan, just try and think along those lines as in what order would I do this. So thank you, Michael. Thank you, Nora. Thank you, Rick. So we're going to transition to Quizlet.
Okay, so I can share my screen now. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay, thank you. So let's go and look for questions in the, let's start with the healthcare technology or information management. So let's go there. Let's do the same what we had done last week. Let's go down. Oh, I created how many questions here? 20. Wow. I don't think we can answer all the 20 here. So let's just probably answer the first 5 or first 3 because we're running out of time. So first question. So efficient handling of information and resources contained in the electronic health record in the data warehouse of protocols and processes that guide patient care delivery and from the literature and internet. A, clinical data repository, meaningful use, knowledge management, or portfolio management. Let's see what's the answer there. So let's wait. What are the answers that you can see there? Sherry?
We've seen a C.
Uh-huh.
A couple Cs, it looks like.
Okay, let's
A
then.
third C.
Okay, let's choose C then. Number 2, a distributed computing model whereby multiple internet-connected computers emulate a supercomputer. A, grid computing, confidentiality, data warehouse, cloud computing. Wow, this is a technical terms for a computer, for IT people also.
We have an A and a C.
Okay, A and C.
We need a tiebreaker there. We've got another A.
Okay, so we'll choose A then.
We've got a D. Okay.
Oh, okay, wow, cloud computing.
So for 2 A's, a C and a D. Okay.
Okay, let's choose D then, right?
We've got another A. Okay.
Okay, then I'll go with A then.
Yeah, let's go A.
3, software that enables the creation and accessing of data stored in a database. Clinical decision support system, computerized provider order entry, database management system, or legacy system.
We've got a lot of C's.
A lot of C's, then we'll choose C. Then 4, a web accessible library of work processes, protocols, and performance measures available to all staff. Meaningful use, cloud computing, grid computing, data warehouse.
So far D.
Okay. D. Then the last question, we'll just do 5 for here.
Sounds good.
A system designed to support the decision-making process of an individual or organization through the use of data retrieval, modeling, and reporting. Clinical decision support system, clinical information system, administrative information system, or decision support system.
We've got D's across the board.
Okay. Okay, so let's see D and let's check our answers. Okay, 1 is A, knowledge management is correct. Grid computing for 2. Number 3 is database management system is correct. 4 is data warehouse, and 5 decision.
Yay!
Yay, 5 out of 5.
Yay!
Okay, so let's go back to the, now let's go to other knowledge. Let's go to the quality. Where is that? Quality performance management test. So let's, there's 5 here. So let's answer this 5. So number 1, systematic assessment of a process to identify the location, cost, and consequences of potential failures of the purpose of eliminating or reducing the chance of failure, also called failure mode effects and critically analysis and healthcare failure mode and effect analysis. It's all there. They throw all the terms there, so it's easy to select the answer. So Malcolm Bridge, quality assurance, FMEA, or failure mode and effect analysis, Agency for Healthcare Research Quality.
So we have C.
Okay, it's pretty much obvious. Number 2, an improvement model that supports repeated incremental improvements in a practice to optimize performance. Hazard analysis, rapid cycle improvement, utilization review, root cause analysis.
We've got some B's.
Mm-hmm.
B, okay.
Okay, let's
Mostly B. We have 1 C though, so it'll be good to.
let's see C.
But B is B is what?
Okay.
Okay.
Majority. 3, a framework for displaying system level performance measures, a component of a structured performance management system that aligns an organization's vision and mission with operational objectives. Balance scorecard, clinical paths, quality assurance, utilization review.
We've got A's.
Okay. Let's choose A. And 4, measurement, assessment, and improvement. Malcolm Bridge National Quality Award, performance expectations, 6 quality aims, Institute of Medicine, quality management cycle, the 3 activities.
We've got D's. D's, D's, D's. Yes. We'll pick D.
Okay, we'll pick D. And the last question, the application of statistical methods to identify and control performance is statistical process control, rapid cycle improvement, hazard analysis, or data analytics.
And we have A.
Okay, let's check our answers. Let's go down. Failure mode and effects analysis is correct. Rapid cycle improvement for number 2, correct. Balance scorecard for number 3 is correct. Number 4, measure quality management cycle, the 3 activities, MAI. And 5, statistical process control.
Woo!
Yay!
Good job.
That's for the Quizlet.
Gotcha. Thank you, Michael. Thanks very much. Great job. Thank you for introducing us and sharing Quizlet. Thank you, Nora, for setting this up and working with Michael. You've done a phenomenal job. Great overview. So I think we're going to have Nora take us to closure if we can get that slide up. Sashin.
Oh, sorry. Hold on 1 second.
And I'm literally going to blast through this because we still have to do the costume contest.
We do.
Basically a rehash of what we covered initially. Okay, so again, we're going back to what we covered initially and what we've tried to display ourselves as we're going through these questions. Be sure to read and reread each question carefully. Read all responses for each question before selecting the answer. I love Rick's recommendation to each of the options as true, false. And the key here, I don't know how much of a problem this is if the system lets you answer more than once. Michael, I don't know if you remember that, but mark only 1 because the multiples are invalid.
Right.
And this is one that I'd heard before, and I'm glad to come across it again. There's no penalty for guessing. It's not like you get points off. So answer every question. And as Michael indicated early on, you can skip the difficult questions and return to them later. You can mark the questions to return to, but remember, only 1 answer. And do not go back and change your answers. Your first hunch is usually the most correct. Unfortunately, I didn't find that with quality for me, but which helped me understand what it is I need to go and study. Okay, next slide. Okay, we've been emphasizing this all the way through. If you're looking at the most inclusive answer, is usually the correct one. However, if you also find qualifiers and absolute words, all but, yes, except for, always, never, only, then you need to start eliminating some answers. So be careful for those words. And again, which is where the rereading the question comes in. We also are reminding you that this is national in scope. So forget what you know about California specific. I mean, yes, your experiences are there. For some of you that come from other states, you just need to remember this is national in scope. So don't overread the question, which is the next bullet also. We're looking at a general healthcare management perspective. Will apply equally to all health organizations, regardless of what they do, where they're located, or how big they are. And again, take a minute or two, regroup, refresh, refocus. There's 6 hours in the exam, so you've got time. Next slide.
We use
Okay.
my description here. Heart math is one. There's many, many breathing exercises. I would really have, you can't bring things in with you, but you can certainly write something down when you come in that would just allow you to take a quick pause to refocus. I use heart math. I focus on the area around my heart. I imagine my breathing's coming in and out of my heart. And as you do that just for 5 seconds, 5 breaths in, 5 out, it gives you that opportunity to just get your heart and brain synced and renew your cognitive function skills as you do that. And then just takes a little pause, and you'd be surprised when you go back, your intuition will kick right back in, because some of this is really coming from your intuition from all the studying you've done. Thanks.
Next slide, please. Okay, so Sherry, you shared your notification that you passed the exam. It's kind of blurry here, but this serves to remind you to take the self-assessment. I put the link right back here. It's right on the FACHE site. Fabulous tool, because Sherry wants to remind us that you don't have to pass, or you don't even have to be an expert in all the fields. So you did better in some than others. So it's a cumulative score.
That's correct. And I think Michael will share a little bit about the newer version, but again, yes, it's weighted because there's different percentiles. But you don't have to be an expert. And I've shared governance and organizational structure was one of the areas I hadn't really practiced in. So that's why we're stressing, if it's an area you haven't practiced in, to really focus on that. Michael, tell us about sort of the newer versions of what you get.
So the newer version of the report right now is it's in a bar graph, wherein, for example, the financial knowledge, it will not tell you your actual percentage performance, but it will show through the bar, like 0 to 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. So it will just, it's like a bar going up and down. So if you're at 73 or 74, your bar will be probably between 50 and 75. So it will, but however, it will not tell you the exact percentage.
It took me about 3 hours. Everyone will have a different time frame, but I started at 8, so I ended at 10.
It took me 5 hours.
It's all different, all different.
Because I took 2 breaks, actually, 2 15-minute breaks.
Important.
To refocus my mind, so.
But I took a break, yeah, that's important. You walk through, if you're in a setting where they're doing children's tutoring, hard to say what they'll have now, is you walk by the kids, get a little bit of joy, and then go back in. Thank you.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so again, I wanted to re-emphasize there are a couple of ways you can waive the exam fee. Because again, at the very beginning, we said, if you get a chance, if you've applied and you've been approved and you need to schedule the exam, if you can get it for free, do it. Worst thing that can happen is that you don't pass, but you get to see where your weaknesses were. So ACHE offers traditionally between March and June. Once you apply, then they'll waive the Board of Governors exam fee if you get approved. So then it's like, just do it. Another opportunity is if you take the online exam review course, not to be confused with the online self-guided tutorial. So then once you receive the waiver, then within 6 months, you need to take the exam. Okay, next slide.
Quick question, Laura, when you say March 1st through June 30th, it doesn't say 2021, but that's the assumption there, right?
Yeah, usually between March, before June 30 every year is traditionally when they do it. And ACHE will announce it. They'll put it out. You'll know, but keep looking for that. Okay, so I added this because I found it interesting that the exam review course used to be on site. You used to have to travel, and it used to be kind of expensive. Now they've taken it virtual. The next one is coming up on November 24th. And it's similar to what we've done. It's broken up over several sessions. The key is that you earn 12 face-to-face credits and they waive the exam fee. So in effect, you are getting 12 face-to-face credits for around $60 a credit. Bargain basement price. And there are ACHE is doing a lot of face-to-face sessions now, virtual. And every time I've tried to sign up for one, they're full. So I'm not trying to push this, but I will say that if you need face-to-face credits and you need them fast, and get to waive the exam fee, putting it out there. In our experience, face-to-face credits are usually pretty expensive, and now they're harder to come by. Even, Cal offered some through the CalCon last year, and I was only able to get into one. I mean, just space available. Now, ACHE also offers the online tutorial. This is the self-study format. You'll get materials. You get 10 qualified education credits, and it's a cheaper rate. So I just wanted to put that out there, because let me go back and reemphasize, this by no means is our presentation intended to be all you need to do to study. We just tried to present some of the highlights, how to look at the questions, how to structure the questions. ACHE actually does a very good job on their site, with the assessment tool, and with the information that they provide on there. I can't say enough good things about Quizlet, getting the flashcards and Quizlet. So that was our goal here, was to present to you and to be a resource moving forward if we can help. Sachin's putting together that website, and it's going to be fabulous. I'm trying to get a national chapter thing together for those of us because most chapters do their own now, and I'd like to get some of their best practices. So we may put some of that out there as well.
Thank you, Nora.
Is there a last slide, I think, in there, or is that the last one? Okay, so we have 2 study sets. They're not the latest editions, but we have 2 sets of the financial management, the Bible of our industry, the well-managed healthcare organization, or at least the Bible of ACHE, and then human resources. We have 2 sets of these. Once you've got your BOG test scheduled, let me know. We'll send them to you for 90 days. Let's see. Next, I think there is one more. Okay, and finally, keep us posted on your progress. We really do care. It's a mark of pride with us as we see people take their exams and pass them, or if they need additional assistance, we will try to be here for you. Well, we will be here for you. If you need help, again, with trying to figure out if your healthcare management meets the qualifications for ACHE, first of all, call ACHE, use that matrix that they provide. And also use David Betancourt and his team at Career Transitions. Okay, and so here we go.
Yay!
And I've before, once you've taken the exam, we want you back. We want you to pay it forward. We want you to tell our participants in the next sessions how you did, how you studied. The testimonials are invaluable. And we'd also like for you, every piece of information we're presenting here either came off the FACHE site or it came from Cal members. And we're careful not to take anything that's trademarked, and copyrighted. But any of the information that you share, we're giving out for free to our participants. So we would appreciate any of the ACHE study materials that you get if you do take any additional courses. And last but not least, good luck. We are here for you.
Thank you, Nora. And we'll just take a moment here to have those that want to take yourself off video, because we have the opportunity to win a Cal water bottle, nice displayed here, blue. And so please take yourself off video so we can vote. And if you would in the chat room, just vote for your favorite two. And we will have a copy of the chat room. So let's start voting for folks.
And the presenters aren't eligible, so Sherry and I and Rick and Michael.
So we're not eligible. Oh, okay.
We've been disqualified, but we definitely have a winner, Richard, for background. Oh my God. We've got COVID Khalid. And I think we've got another COVID for Khalid. Am I pronouncing that right? Okay. COVID Khalid, could you type in your address for us?
I will, thank you.
And you, you have won yourself a water bottle. I take a picture of that one.
Oh,
With
sure,
a-
Mariel.
with a blue moon.
This was suffocating.
Okay, as people are looking at the chat room, we've got a love the octopus hat. Lillian, you had a beautiful hat. Am I missing anything as we're looking at it? Okay. I think we'll go with the octopus hat, if you don't mind typing your, and you had two hats, I think, right? Did you have two? Type in your name, your address too, and we appreciate it. That's very wonderful.
Will do. Thank you, everybody. This has been wonderful.
Great. And we do appreciate the comments, and for SurveyMonkey, just let us know where we can improve or what you liked about it, and especially the timing, as the model with the Saturdays, if that worked out, the 1.5 hours each. And we appreciate that folks have liked getting the links to study, because that'll be valuable for you. So thanks all. Any other closing comments from the team?
Good
Yeah.
luck.
One of the things I should have said and didn't when I was talking about closing, another thing that we're going to send out with this final presentation is a BOG exam reference manual that ACHE used to provide. They don't do it anymore. It's a little out of date, but it has 230 sample questions and an answer key. So again, some of those questions might be out of date, but again, the logic is still there. And it, again, along with the self-assessment and taking that, just the 230 questions, you may find that very useful. But again, it's not official anymore because they don't publish it anymore. But we got our hands on it a couple years ago, and we think that you'll find it very valuable. So I should have
Thanks, Nora.
Okay.
And thank you all. Good luck. Let us know how you did. Take care. Bye.
It's been our pleasure, truly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Mike, if you can stay on and tell us what you think about our new BOG 2.0.
I liked it. I liked it. It kept people engaged, and it was not too long that you kind of had them there all day. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I liked it. I liked the whole the way you did it. But
My challenge was the technical side of all of this. So again, thank you, Shauna and Sachin. I couldn't have done it without you.
I think the shorter timeframes works well for technology, 1.5 hours. That works really well.
And we do record, have a record of the chat. So that's always good to see.